Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today I have a very special guest with us. I have a Mr. Andrew LaRock. Hey, Andrew.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I see the Golden Gate Bridge behind you. Are you actually
Bay Area native, born and raised, except for a brief stint where I went to freeze my butt off in Minnesota, then came back.
I was right there with you on the East Bay.
Those Midwests, yeah.
All right. So, Andrew, let's just go ahead and get started. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Who am I? Let's see. 26-year-old male. The ASM, or ASL. No, just joke. Let's see. I am 26. I started playing video games when I was like 3 or 4 years old with Richard Sherman's Busy Town, something like that, because my parents already built me PCs, stuff like that. So I've always been around computers. But I started video games, the whole online gaming, in 2005 with World of Warcraft. My cousin made the mistake of buying it for me. And from there, went on to eventually join Death and Taxes, World of Warcraft's #1 guild, through Burning Crusade. Went on from there, just basically sort of guild hopped from number one, other guilds and whatnot, along with leading, in Season 9, like the top RPG team in the world. With that competitive experience aside, also like competing in BlizzCon, League of Legends, as everybody knows, the game. Everyone's also probably heard of TSM, Team Solo Mid. So the two founders of TSM were the Din brothers, and the Din brothers went to Westmont High School. And Westmont High School happens to be basically the sister school of Del Mar High School, where I attended. And before they were TSM, they needed another player to play League of Legends with, since you needed 5. So I got to be that lucky player. But as things progressed, before I even knew League of Legends was going to get big, I was busy thinking about college. So I ventured off to college. They created like the official TSM, one Season 1, millions of dollars. Now TSM's wherever. That is that. Then when I was at college, I thought, hey, let's, make the next World of Warcraft, since, I loved MMOs, but coming from somebody who took 0 computer classes, 0, engineering throughout whatever, I had no design, not artistic at all. I still had it in my mind that I wanted to create the next World of Warcraft. So I looked online for, some people to help teach me how to code and whatnot. And I found that, a great group of people who remained anonymous, which you'll get in a little bit, to teach me how to code and whatnot. And they were great at it. They helped me with Unreal Engine, Unity, even CryEngine. And when I actually got to the point of asking how they were so good at this, they explained that they were anonymous. Now, that's the joke's on me, because then I started to realize Anonymous is the hacker collective. Now, they didn't teach me any hacking, and they weren't doing any hacking, but it also explains that if you're a hacker, you're probably a good video game developer. So with that in mind, Terra Online, as everybody's heard of it or played it, hopefully it's on all platforms now. I was able to create basically a certain zone with NPCs that is now been implemented into the game itself, which then sort of helped me break into the video game industry as a whole. I remember that was during 2012, I believe. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go to a video game convention for the first time. So I went to PAX when it was called PAX Prime. Not PAX, East, PAX West, but PAX Prime, and PAX Dev, which is still there. And for anybody who is wondering what PAX is, it's like basically a community-driven conference that are held, like there's about 4 or 5 held each year in the United States and like the 4 corners of the states. And I would definitely recommend going if you guys, have the opportunity. But PAX Dev is for developers or people that want to learn how to develop. And it's like 2 days to 3 days in Seattle before PAX Prime. So what it was is I basically got to meet. I went, sat down at a coffee table because it was early, and because there was an open spot. And, I soon came to realize that there was a reason why that spot was open at the coffee table, and that was because people that were sitting there were like god tier in the video game industry compared to like where I was. So when I went around and introduced myself, I had just met, Gordon Bellamy, who worked for EA initially, created Madden. Then he went on to Tencent, where he told them to invest in this game that we all know as League of Legends. Then, he's done the Wave VR. He also teaches USC. You got Sean Maker, who runs all of Pride in Los Angeles. And then other people have created a bunch of video games. They essentially introduced me to everybody at that PAX, and that's where I was able to create so many connections into the video game industry that I decided, I'd always loved video games, that I wanted to pursue them as a career and as a consultant, while also dabbling in other industries. But yeah, it was probably that PAX that solidified that what I wanted to do. And while I was working with various video game companies and whatnot, I was also I can never give it up, but I'm also always competing in some video game professionally with Overwatch. And then the last time I was at PAX Primal, PAX West, was when Fortnite had just launched, and there was a walk-on summer skirmish, and I'd never played Fortnite before, so I decided, hey, let's wait in line, give it a go, and who knows, made top 32, top 16 to get invited to another Fortnite skirmish, and then another one, and yeah, that is a brief summary. I think.
So when I first spoke with you, Andrew, that story took like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how long it was going to take this time.
I was trying to cut it down, brief everything, like chop, 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 chop.
Oh, yeah. No, it's absolutely fantastic. And there's just so much to unpack. So before I do, I start every interview, though, with one question. I'm going to ask you the same question. I kind of get a feeling I know where you're going to be at on this one. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Andrew?
Weird. Well, I guess prior to that question, I'm also the U.S. junior national badminton coach. Which is actually funny because it relates to esports now, because I'm actually going to be I'm partnering with the CIF, the California Interscholastic Federation of Sports, to bring esports to all of high schools in California. But so going back to how weird I am, well, if you were going to relate me to today's current gamer, I would say I'm not weird at all. But if you were to let me during when I gamed, oh yeah, I'm definitely weird. But when it comes to what my choice of clothing, I am not afraid to stand out and be you'll always be able to spot me at a conference or a convention. My terminology is always mixed up. In business speeches, I've accidentally said acronyms for video games and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like a 7.
I appreciate that. I kind of feel the same way. Growing up, you and I'm a little older than you, but it was weird to be a gamer back then.
Yeah.
You hit it a little bit unless you were talking to other gamers.
No, you hit it. And I don't want to say you get bullied for it. I played sports a lot of stuff, but even to those people, if I explain oh, hey, I'm going home to play video games, nerd. And that was then, or it was you're playing video games because you didn't have any friends. But at the same time, it's it wasn't like that necessarily. And I think we've done a really good job in today's society to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Right. And I'm glad to hear that. And I'm right there with you. Weird clothing. I have a purple suit with a rainbow vest, rainbow tie.
Oh my gosh!
I stand out wherever I try to go to. So, Andrew, I would normally at this point kind of ask you about your gamer cred, but I think you just destroyed that question. So, Richard Scarry's Busy World. That's where you started, huh?
Yeah.
About how old do you think you were? Before you can remember, kind of old, or?
3. because like 3-ish, I'd say, because oh my gosh, that song Figaro, Figaro, whatever you want to call it, the when you're baking, that song to this day gets stuck in my head.
Okay, so I want to know, like, obviously you kind of took a career in gaming. I think you told me when we were on the phone that you started in Warcraft when you were 12 and you ended up in Death of
Yeah.
Taxes
Mhm.
around that age too, which is hardcore, man, like hardcore. Um, what kind of lessons have you learned that you've been able to translate from video games into real life?
How to cry like a man and hold back tears. No, that's actually true though. Can see a lot of teenagers, youth, even young adults going to college. We don't get a lot of constructive criticism. Maybe we get criticism and maybe we get like advice, but we don't get constructive criticism from somebody that's at like a senior management level in the workplace, which is what they were at Death and Taxes. So I was getting what they didn't have any ill intentions. Actually, everything that they were telling me was like from to better myself. But me at the time, the only thing I was able to comprehend was just like, oh my God, I did something wrong. I'm getting yelled at. Da, 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 da. But then, they realized like, okay, maybe he doesn't really understand how to take constructive criticism. So eventually, but I'm a quick learner. So they sort of explained what constructive criticism was, how you're supposed to handle it, and how it will make you better and stuff like that. And then to also give it to others once you graduate, and you move on, in your roles and whatnot, because constructive criticism is something that needs to be given, needs to be like handed out, because it's incredibly helpful. You don't want somebody like saying, oh, you're doing better, when overall you're still like really doing terribly. You're just doing a little bit better than you are, because that's not helping you at all. Saying you're doing better. No, you have to be blunt in order to basically help them get better. A positive approach always helps, but there are some points in times where you need to be completely honest, and then from there just set basically. I got taught the goal methodology, where it's sort of just like you make a short-term goal, which is like something you can accomplish either in a day or in a week, and then you make like like a midterm goal, which is something that's like a week to maybe like a month longer, and then you make like a long-term goal, which is like a 6 month sort of like goal. And those goal-oriented systems are something that like I use to this very day, and that I got taught when I was 12, and it's like writing stuff in journals too, writing things down, anything that you need to remember, anything that you think is like, if somebody says something that you like, a quote or something, you write it down. And so I know everybody in today's world is all typing, but I'm actually like, I will write in journal, like they're not really journals, but notebooks, because I feel that when you write stuff down, you sort of get like muscle memory, so you remember it even more. But yeah, so stuff that I took over from video games, it's definitely learning how to be criticized, learning how to hold back cheers, but also learning how to apply the criticism effectively, learning how to spot my mistakes before other people spot them, learning how to strategize so as to not make those mistakes, and to think about, and while I was thinking of how I'm not going to make mistakes, I would also come to these conclusions about how other people can maybe not make mistakes if they followed similar things. So it becomes like, in teaching and preparing for what's to come, which isn't just about video games, it's also about like, the real world, in life. If you go into whatever you're going to be doing, like whatever event or raid or whatever work project you're going to start to work on, if you create like a pre-plan, if you're organized and you have everything set up, like you're going to be able to tackle the situation and take a much better approach at what needs to be done than if you're just going into it without anything.
That is absolutely glorious. That was just absolutely beautiful answer. If I wanted to, I could have ended the podcast on that. Like, that is so good. What how would you advise someone who maybe is 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that age range, who doesn't necessarily have that kind of mentoring that you did? Because you were kind of just thrust into it. But a lot of kids aren't necessarily in that position, but obviously those are skills, those are life skills that they have to learn. The earlier they learn them, the better.
Yes, no, the earlier you can learn them, the better actually it is, no matter what. And but at the same time, it does take like a higher maturity level. And I'm not saying that at a higher maturity level, because like I said, I cried. I'm not gonna lie, I cried multiple times. Like, even my baseball coach didn't make me cry, stuff like that. These people, but they were being honest. And there's a difference between people who care and people that are just being like trolls and stuff. And that's what something, if you're that age, you need to be able to notice what the difference is. If these people are coming, if they are trying to help you, then, and you're feeling a little bit teary, that's normal. That's okay. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel whatever, that's actually good constructive criticism. But if they're just like being straight out rude and that's, those are the people that you just don't listen to and need to like shun away. But I would definitely say for people that, if they think they're ready for those next steps, to go out and it's not hard actually, from what I've heard, to find mentors or to find people that they can ask questions for and whatnot, because there's always going to be, there's the top players or the top streamers. They don't talk to anybody, obviously. But then there's those people under them that are just as good according to like the stats or the ranking, but they don't have like any Twitch followers or this or that, and they're trying to get bigger or this or that. And those are perfect people to ask questions for, and they would love to be mentored or stuff like that. Or or if maybe you're already in somebody's stream and like you're already like a moderator or something, suggest to them to create an academy or something, because that's something I did when Overwatch came out, and I noticed I was already really good at Overwatch. I decided to create an Overwatch academy, which was basically me giving free lessons and helping people out as best as to my best of my abilities. But that was also something I was taught from day one, is that it is up to us, being the best in the world, to conduct ourselves in a manner as such. And if people ask us questions, we answer those questions as they should be answered. So, that's actually like really kind. Most people wouldn't bother with the time and whatnot, but yeah.
No, I've found that people who are top level are almost always willing to give.
Yeah.
The more you give, the more you get back.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is it you do today?
What did I do today?
Yeah, business-wise.
Well, technically speaking, a jack of all trades is what you don't call it in the business industry, so you call it a consultant.
There you go.
That's just like the way it goes. But yeah, no. So I sort of went and carried into consulting. Initially speaking, it started with, since I already had some gaming industry connections and sports industry connections, it was working for gaming industry companies and sports industry companies. But then it started to bridge off into, since I live in the Bay Area, to the different tech sectors, and then also because of my badminton sponsorships and whatnot, with being Li Ning, I was granted opportunities to like train in China, where I was able to meet up with a lot of the Chinese tech companies and moguls, and they became my clients. So what I basically, do for the most part for these companies and whatnot is overall, I would say, digital marketing, risk assessment, brand promotion, brand awareness, JSAPR, yeah, and then sometimes just overall partnership negotiation.
Okay, so there's a lot there that I could ask you about. I would like, if you're willing, if you could give some advice on partnerships, and then maybe I try to gear this show towards kind of the lowest end of gamers out there. So the lowest of streamers, not necessarily that's everybody, but people who don't know how to make money doing what they're doing yet. And then, so if we have any advice for them on how to like rise up and make money.
So basically, I'll classify this as, so when you start streaming or YouTube, it doesn't matter. Even for most people, even if they get to that decent following base, this decent, number of live viewers, you probably still won't be making that much money. That's the reality of it. I know it sounds kind of harsh, but that's where partnerships come in, and that's where other sponsorships come in too. Now, my number one rule, and I tell this to everybody, and I told it to you, is like, so are you at that point, in time where you're like, should I be contacting people for a partnership, for a sponsorship? No, is probably what you're saying. Oh, I'm not big enough, or this or that. Well, here's what you need to ask yourself. What is the worst thing that will happen if you contact somebody for a partnership or a sponsorship? They will say no. That's it. No. It's just a no. Oh my gosh. A no. They're not going to sue you. They're just no. And guess what? Then if they reply to you even and they say no, now you got a point of contact for when you grow bigger. And now you can propose them a better method in a little while, and maybe they'll sponsor you then. But overall, it's unless you are trying, unless you're throwing yourself out there, you're never going to be able to succeed or get partnerships or sponsorships. Okay. Because the only way that these people actually reach out are to the top players.
Okay. So that's advice you could basically get anywhere. I love it. That's fantastic advice. What specifically should they say? Like, which specific division should they reach out to?
Yes. Okay.
Nuts and bolts.
Yeah. So when reaching out for partnerships or sponsorships, and you're looking for first off, you need you're not going to be able to find a phone number because cold calling and stuff like that is just not around today. So when you're looking for that email address to send, because that's what you're going to have to do. I guess you could attempt to send them a Facebook message or a Twitter message to ask if they are currently accepting or offering any partnership sponsorship opportunities. But otherwise, you want to look for their sales, marketing, or public relations email address. And then you're going to take the email address, and then you're going to send an email. And in that email, you're going to either say inquiry about possible content creator partnership / sponsorship opportunities, or inquiry about live streaming, opportunity, partnership opportunities. And then when you go down further, obviously, what you don't want is you do not want a college textbook worth of why they should partner, why they should give you a sponsorship or partnership. And you don't want a massive email either. You don't want something that's super wordy in length. You want to keep it not too short and not too sweet, but you want to be short and concise and matter. You want to get what basically you need to explain to these companies what they get out, why should they partner and why should they sponsor you. And even if you only have 50 Twitch followers and you're getting 3 viewers or something, this still applies to you, because basically if you have valid reasoning and valid points and net facts to back up what you're presenting, that states okay, I'm able to bring showcase your brand to, let's say you're streaming in El Salvador. Okay, well they've made it, even if you're only getting that 1 viewer or something, that you're bringing their product to a brand new market. So that's just something that you can do that's unique. So you essentially need to think about, is there anything that you do that's unique to yourself or unique to the people that you stream to, that the potential sponsor or partner that you're looking to acquire can monetize on. Also, you need to think of yourself as a brand, and you need to think of yourself as being part of the selling point. So when I'm thinking about, let's say, okay, well, we will use this as an example. Okay, it's like Diet Dr. Pepper. okay, if I'm contacting Pepsi, well, down by Pepsi, but if I'm contacting Pepsi, then I'm going to be like, okay, so partnership with Pepsi. What can I do for Pepsi that Pepsi doesn't have already from all the other people that drink it and all the above that just drink it for free? You know, what can I do for them that would make them interested in, you know, wanting partnering with me? And in doing so, I need to write it in a way that's almost like not a cliffhanger, but it's sort of like oh, okay, what does he mean by this? You sort of want to get them, you want a hook, line, and sinker. Basically, so there, you know, you need like a fact, and then you need maybe like a half fact, and then you need like a mysterious, you know, open-ended, something that maybe grab their attention to sort of like, what do you mean by that? Because the longer the conversation that you can get going with these potential partners or sponsors, the longer the conversation is, the better it is for you. Because that means that they're actually reading what you're sending them, first off. Second off, you're establishing rapport with the person. And third off, you're basically doing everything the right ways, and hopefully you're going to be able to secure some type of deal.
Wonderful. Okay. So a partnership would be where you sell their products.
Yes.
Okay. And a sponsorship is where they just pay you for whatever, a logo or a pitch.
Either they pay you in products, because that's technically monetary. Partnerships, they'll sometimes give you products, and then it's up to you to try to sell them, stuff like that. Or they'll just be your partners in name. You have to buy the products. Sponsorships, that they can give you cash. They can give you their products, monetary products, and then they can give you both. And in return, you have to have like a certain set of requirements that they're going to give you, like having their logo on your stream, maybe saying something once an hour about it, things like that.
Okay. So I'm sitting here trying to think of what questions, if I was about to be trying to get sponsors and partners, which I am. So like what questions would I be concerned about? And one of them would be like, if I'm looking for sponsors, like I want someone to pay me something. Is it just up to the company what they're going to do, or do I have to ask? And then how do I price myself?
So if you're looking to get paid if you're looking for a sponsorship, for a monetary sponsorship from a company, like, okay, I would like, then you're going to need to present them with a full project proposal about for the amount of money that they're going to be giving you, and how you're going to use it actually helps a lot. Like, I'm going to be using this to like upgrade my stream, because that means they're investing in you, rather than, oh, I'm using it to go buy a car. No, that's so I'm not saying you should lie either, but you know, if you're showing them that like everything that the money that they're giving you is being invested into making everything that you like, your stream, your podcast, whatnot, better, that's something that will help too. So initially you want to tell them what the money is for. B, you want to show them like the effects of what the money, when used, will be able to do for you and be able to do for them, per se. So even if it's hypotheticals, you should still list hypotheticals. In terms of the amount of money that they're going to give you, you need to look at it in terms of basically, if you're asking Microsoft for money, then okay, look, they have a ton of money, but realistically they're not going to give anybody money because they just don't do that. But if you're looking for like a local sponsor or something like that, and you know they can give like a little money, then the safe bet is to look at basically donations that maybe you've received in the past. You know, what is the highest donation you received, lowest donation you received, and then find a middle ground. Or basically, because that's something that if this potential sponsor has done any homework on you or whatever, they're going to know that too about the donation amounts and stuff, unless you have it set to private. So they're going to know, like, if you're asking for $5,000 when the highest donation you've ever gotten is, $250, then they're obviously not going to give you $5,000, because it's like, okay, you've never gotten that much before, so why should we give it to you? So when sending a realistic, number, you basically can go off your donation history, or you can also go off of like I said before, if you're using it to invest in yourself, look at what you're investing in or what buying, and then sort of, give them, like, that's why you're asking for this much money. And then when you're doing that, when you're asking for it, then you need to explain, okay, how is that going to benefit the company if they give you that money? What are you going to do for them? Whether it's running, social media campaigns for them by just like promoting their brand, shouting them out. There's multiple ways you can do it. And that's where sending them not just like I'll do this and this for you. I would actually go a step further and say, okay, these are the different things that I can do in order to receive this monetary sponsorship. So don't just give them like one or two options. Give them everything you're willing to do, and then let them choose.
Okay, fantastic. Circling back, since I'm the kind of person who likes my question being answered, so that's a yes. You would be the one, I would be the one, or the streamer would be the one to make the request for the amount.
Yeah, unless
determination.
If they sometimes they will say an amount, and that in that case, you can accept, or you can negotiate too.
Okay. Now, you said that you sent some information. We're talking like a pitch deck of some sort, 7 to 12 slides.
Yeah.
Not too much information. You don't want to send them like a thesis.
Yes. Yeah. So there's like a sponsor deck, which it's sort of like we were talking about this earlier. It's sort of like an investment deck, only it's a lot less, I guess you could say, where an investment deck is more oriented on how like these companies are going to be getting their ROIs from you, basically on investments. The sponsor deck is more so like how these companies are going to be able to grow through you. I guess that'd be the biggest difference, through sponsoring you. So I know those are similar, but they're also different in the matter of like, so with the sponsor deck, you're kind of, you could use to sort of brag about yourself a little bit. You want to list your accomplishments, achievements, and then sort of list a little bit how they pertain to you moving forward, and how they'll help, how the sponsorship coupled with your achievements will just allow you to continue to grow, and with you growing, allow their growth to accumulate too. Whereas like the investment deck is something that you're going to be listing your accomplishments, yes, but you're also going to be listing them in a sense of like, oh, okay, I've accomplished this, and that, and that's basically, so if I continue at this pace, then I'm going to be, making this much money, and I'm going to be reaching these audiences in these tournaments. And then, this is what I'm going to be worth in X amount of years. Whereas the sponsorship is more so like, okay, let's look at us now. Look at me now. Let's look at like, okay, how I'm growing now and how you can grow with me. Stuff like that.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, now thinking of other questions someone might be asking if they were going to be talking to you. Should I only be shooting for one sponsor at a time, or should I be like trying, like you said, the worst I can say is no. Should I just like flood the market with as many requests as I can and see who's willing to take?
So for that, actually, no, you shouldn't flood the market. So you want to approach 3 to 5 sponsors at a time at maximum. And also you should not be contacting sponsors that share Like, so when you are looking for sponsorships, you need to know the companies that you are talking to, because if you're all of a sudden applying for a Coursera sponsorship and all that stuff, and then you're also talking to Razer and doing something like that, it's not going to work out, because if you're trying to get one of the Coursera sponsorships, you're probably going to try to show that you have Coursera products. But then if you're trying to get the Razer sponsorship too, then you got to have Razer products. And what happens if somebody from Coursera is, turning into your Razer stream, or you trying to acquire Razer or something like that. So make sure there's no conflict of interest within the sponsors you're trying to attract. Yeah. Another, essentially what I my general rule of thumb is, initially when you're going after those sponsors too, is to start off small. I mean, it's always great to dream big, but going after is, a 2080 graphics card from Zotac or Gigabyte or somebody is then the first thing you should try to get as a sponsor, from potential sponsor. The first thing you want to look for to get is maybe maybe it's a cheap pair of headphones, something like that. It might not even necessarily be a top gaming brand, but once you get those first sponsors, once you get those first couple, and then you fulfill their contract and whatnot, then you're already building upon your sponsor resume, so that when you go and you want to get Coursera, for instance, Coursera's going to look and say okay, they've been sponsored before, and then also once you're being sponsored, make sure to take notes on how your sponsorship is going, and you can't just not do anything either. Because if you want to get more sponsors and if you want to get better sponsors, you need to have proof, and you need to show that you are able to actually contribute. And when I say that, I don't mean you need to sell anything, technically. You don't have to sell, anything at all when it comes to sponsorship. I know sponsors are probably if they're watching this, they're no. He's that's bad. But when I say that, there's being a fantastic spokesperson and relaying the company's, promoting the company in a positive manner, and influencing, hundreds of thousands of people. I think the company is going to take that over somebody who's making them $10,000 any day, actually. So there's a lot of different ways that you can actually help, help your sponsors, rather than just being a door-to-door salesperson or something, for example.
Fantastic. Oh man. Okay. I don't even know what else to ask you. Is there anything else you should be telling us, as far as sponsorships, and we can move on if not.
As far as sponsorships, do not be fooled into, so just in today's world, this doesn't happen to me, but for some people that are applying for jobs or workplaces and stuff like that, they'll be all of a sudden they'll apply for this job, and the job itself sounds great. Then they go to the job interview, and it's in a small little building, and it's sort of sketchy, and they say they do this and that, and they're making minimum wage. There's some sponsorships that are like that too, from these weird companies that are just that'll ask you to buy their product and then promote it and things like that, and then you're sponsored by them. And also so for those types of companies, you don't want to have to buy in to promote the product, unless it's something that's that you want to promote. If Coursera is willing to sponsor you, but you have to buy their mouse or something per se, that's an okay investment, because you're in the long run, you're getting sponsored by Coursera, and you'll be getting benefits after you've proven to them that you have some loyalty. But if some company is asking you to purchase, all of their equipment, no, it doesn't work like that. And then or if they're asking you to sell all this, don't do that. Also, you're gonna have to sign contracts, so you need to make sure to review the contract you're signing for the sponsor to make sure they're not requiring you to sell items, they're not requiring you to do all of this. That's something. Oh, and do not accept sponsorships from from companies that sell certain energy drinks or boosts, or like food and stuff, because, well, there's reasons why we haven't heard of it, and there's reasons why they're trying to get anybody to promote it. You don't. Sometimes it might be good, but it's up to you to take that chance.
Okay, so something you just said. Would you advise anybody to take a sponsorship, even if you've got nothing for it? So if Coursera came to you and said, "We want to sponsor you. You're not going to get anything, but you can slap our logo on your stream." Is that
yes, I would actually. Yes, I would 1000% say go for it, or to accept it. Because for me personally, it's something that I've done multiple times. I mean, and then it's led into having like affiliate links for certain like companies. Like, for example, for me, like Zillow. Like landing Zillow was just a partnership in name. Like, I've been able to, it started with me just being partnered with Zillow, the housing company. That's like all of a sudden being like Rocket Mortgage loans or something for like, video games. It's a huge name that nobody else like really had, just like Rakuten, Rakuten, I forgot how you say that. Like, nobody else had that. That's, if you watch that stuff, but it's like, okay, they're willing to partner with me in name. To begin with, but now, somebody, if anybody's watching this wants to buy a house, use Zillow. I go to my link, and I'll get a nice commission. But see, that after a year of me just being partnered with them and promoting them, they were like, hey, you know what? Well, we're happy with what you've done. Here's just an affiliate link. In the rare case that somebody does use it, and so all of a sudden, see, the relationship is already grown.
Fantastic. Okay. There's just so much to ask. On the PR marketing side, if we can switch over to there, what are kind of the biggest mistakes you're seeing in the industry, whether it's esports, streaming, just gaming, business owners in general? Where are people falling down? Where can they improve?
Well, first off, actually, no, this has to do with sponsorships too, but PR did it. Grammar, like, if you're writing something and you're typing it like something that you did on AIM, or I don't know, people don't use AIM anymore. That's like,
you're really dating yourself there.
if you're not texting a potential sponsor, you're not, whatever. You need to be making sure everything's written well, and that you're well spoken. And then another thing that going into the public relations and whatnot is, you need to think of yourself as, once you're getting these sponsors, being sponsored by a company means that you are technically almost like an employee of that company, and you need to conduct yourself in a manner that is befitting of that company. So that means no stupid stuff, no things that are immature. I mean, it's always okay to, like, relax and lean back and have days off, but it's also not okay to, like, do things that you already generally shouldn't do, like bullying and whatnot. But something that I noticed I did all of the time throughout high school, throughout college, but then I stopped once I started coaching high school badminton, was swearing. Like, I didn't realize this actually either until about a year ago, when I was at my little cousin who's 8, his little sister's softball game, but we were talking about Fortnite, and I was saying, oh, you should watch my stream, and he says, I can't watch Twitch streams, and I go, why? And he goes, because they're for adults. And I go, well, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I watch YouTube, and that's when I realized that YouTube has everything censored. So that's something that, you need to keep in mind or keep a note of. So if you can just reduce or eliminate yourself from swearing, you're already going to be able to market your content to so many more people. And you're also not going to get in any type of trouble. Like, but the one thing I would say to remember is that once you get sponsors, you need to behave and act in a manner accordingly. Like, I'm not saying you need to be the next princess or prince. Like, well, the royal family is a terrible example right now since they're in turmoil. But, you basically, you should always try. You can be yourself. You can be a funny, wacky person. I'm not saying you should ever stray away from who you are. I'm just saying you should you should conduct yourself in a manner that, like, you're not that nobody would be like, that nobody can question your behavior or your attitude.
So impeccable character. I love it.
Yeah, integrity. Yeah.
Okay. What let's focus on you for a second. What skills would you say you have made you so successful?
Inside of video games, or well, outside of video games, social, being like an outgoing, sociable person. Like, I've played sports. It's always been easy for me to walk up to a random stranger and strike a conversation. It doesn't matter if it's a girl or if it's a guy. But at the same time, I'm also not that person that will go and flirt with every girl or whatever. I treat almost everybody like as the same as like a human being. Whether it's a he, a she, a they. So that's something too. And something that I think everybody should keep in mind is like having an open mind. If you go into a situation, any situation, whether it's online, whether it's, at home, in school, as long as you have an open mind, you don't necessarily have to agree with anything the person's saying or what's being told. But as long as your mind is open, that means you're automatically not going to be shouting what comes to mind, what you're thinking necessarily, because you're at least trying to have that open mind. So as long as you have an open mind towards all everything that you encounter, you're going to make a lot less mistakes, a lot less embarrassments, and you're going to understand things a lot better.
Okay, I love it. 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 mouth.
Exactly.
Okay. So what resources have you been relying on, or what resources would you say anybody else be able to use?
Resources for...
So where do you do your research? What tools are you using? What companies do you use? Mentors?
Oh, well, so for research and stuff, that's everybody basically has I've noticed everybody has their own ways of researching things and taking like notes and compiling data. I'm a huge data person. So because I believe whoever controls like data controls the world. So like I any type of data that I can get, I will keep and like save and then compile it until you got terabytes of data. And I'm not even joking. I'll even look into like the top data companies, which charge millions of dollars a month for like memberships. And then I will try to talk to them to see if there's any way that I can get some of that data that they have by giving them other data. So it's sort of like a trade. But yeah, so great ways to find data on different companies are when the companies release like their either their quarterly like reports, things like that, like press conferences, anything where they're gonna be talking about like state of companies, things like that. Anything where people ask questions. Forums are another great way, because people are going to ask these things too on the forums about like sponsorships or FAQs.
Still blows my mind to hear people say use forums. Like, wasn't that like 10 years ago?
No, I mean, they still have forums and stuff, I hope. Yeah, showing my age, I guess. But no, essentially, there really does need to be there's so many people that have tried to do it, that have tried to create like a online platform defining sponsorships and partnerships, but they've all failed because like the main companies just don't join. Like that's usually how it is. And then it just falls through. So there really isn't any like one central thing that you can find or you do. But since today's world has discords for everything, you have social media for everything. Basically, if you have questions or if you you want information, just ask. Just ask all the I have over 7 Discord accounts, because you're only allowed to join 100 of the servers per each account. Have you ever reached a limit, if you know what I'm talking about?
I barely use Discord. I had 5, I think before.
Okay.
I need to be on Discord apparently.
Yeah. So for if you're looking for sponsors, right? So you're looking at say you want a Samsung monitor, you want a Corsair keyboard, you want a an Asus mouse, you want a Rode microphone, da da da. So you're going to join those are all different, Discord groups, for example, something like that. You can only join up to 100 of them per account. So that's where I had to make second accounts, all that stuff, so I could join just more and more and more. And then I'm forming and establishing a relationship with, the actual people in the companies and whatnot. And then I'm trying to, and, first impressions are also key. So, you want to be kind, you want to get your point across in a short, concise matter. And then, if everything goes well, they give you some helpful information, you should thank them. And then maybe every now and then go back and say hi. You want to cultivate a relationship, because cultivating a relationship is cultivating connection. And eventually, that connection can help you maybe get a sponsorship, maybe get a partnership. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk more about kind of your business at the moment. So I'm sure there are other gamers out there who may have had a somewhat similar track. Maybe, not exactly the way you did it, but they came up through gaming. They got involved in different organizations. They got sponsorships. They had success, and now they're looking at doing the consulting work. How do you value yourself as a consultant?
So for me personally, for consulting, I was lucky enough just to have a family friend's uncle who basically teaches all of the people that want to become the top consultants for McKinsey & Company, Boston & Co., those top firms. He's basically their military instructor, for their drill instructor. So I was lucky enough that, I know him, and I was able to do all these workbooks that he has and had and all that stuff. Granted, they're from the 1980s, but funny thing is that those 1980s workbooks, are still relevant today. Mm-hmm. But I would definitely say, if they want to get into the consulting, it's not dumb if they haven't taken any college courses based on business or things like that, to go take one at a community college. You'll actually learn a lot. Because I've had some friends that, that are currently, they were part of esports organizations, but they wanted to they wanted to expand their role. So they went and took a small businesses course at a community college, and they said it really helped them a lot. So that's something I would definitely throw out there. But, transitioning into becoming a consultant is more so, consultants are kind of one of the harder things to become. I mean that I don't want to discourage people from becoming consultants, but consultants are all about connections, who and you already have to have an established rapport. Otherwise, you need the college degree and the experience. But I mean that is to say, if you can also teach yourself everything, and as long as you can apply it, then you're fine. So in that matter, if you still want to become a consultant after you like been doing this, then a way for you to get experience is to actually do volunteer work for different organizations, nonprofits, you name it, and then use that as sort of your resume once you start trying to take on actual consulting jobs.
Wonderful. I'm going to go back to my question for a second, though. So I know when I try to advise, I do coaching and a little bit of consulting. I prefer not to do the consulting. I love the coaching. It's all mindset. But when I'm advising people on and getting into the business themselves, one of the hardest tricks is getting them to understand how much they're worth. So, do you charge $50,000 a head, $100,000 a company, for that sort of thing?
You mean contracts,
yeah. And you don't have to give me anything specific. Just
no. Yeah. So, it's essentially speaking, it goes into, I guess, knowing a little bit about HR and what companies offer their employees to begin with, because you basically need to look at it as okay, if they're hiring you as a consultant, but for most cases it's because it's sort of they have their company has a minor injury, and you're that Band-Aid or those stitches that they're bringing in to fix it. So or they don't have enough of a certain role, and they just need you to come in and to basically help patch things up. So we're not lawyers. I'm going to throw that out there. So we don't charge those high premiums, you know, but at the same time, you know, don't undervalue who you are and what you are as a consultant either. Now, the first things that when you're looking for like what you can charge as a consultant is do you have a 4-year degree? Because that will automatically entail you to make more money and be able to charge more money. I know it sounds stupid, but that's just how it is in today's world. So do you have a 4-year degree? Okay. Next is work experience. Do you have at least 3 years work experience? That means you're not going to be entry level anymore. If you have more than 6 to 7 years experience, then you're going to be getting that part closer to the senior pay rates. And the way to think of these things is that when I'm submitting contracts and whatnot, if it's for like a one-time thing, like a risk assessment, then I generally have a one-time, it's a flat fee that's paid basically half upfront, half on completion, something like that. Whereas other things that if I'm doing like in a digital marketing campaign for like a set duration of time, or like for like 6 months or something, then it's paid just like any other workplace, like paid monthly or something like that. And then I just look at, okay, this is how many years of experience I have. This is what I'm doing. And this is like what the pay in this area is accordingly. So you look at it pay by hour sort of thing. Okay. I generally don't. The only times I'm charging like a actual set number flat fee is like if it's like a singular based project or something like that with like a set time limit, set parameters. Nothing can really change too much. Then I'm gonna have like a number in mind, and that number is something that I've like worked out, and it's a number that I also raise or lower depending on the company's status too. Like, you know, I'm going to charge Microsoft a hell of a lot more money than I'm going to charge like a startup,
that's right,
for instance. But, you know, also you can say like, you can give the other company like, you know, a number like, you know, for risk assessment, you know, for risk assessment for like Microsoft's new Surface launch, right? I'll probably charge, you know, anywhere from 5 to 25,000. Yeah, that's absurd. Probably people are thinking, oh my God, but
that's normal for consultants like that.
Yeah, but that's actually going to take me, since I'm working on this alone, that's going to take me at least probably 400 hours worth of work, doing all the data, doing everything that goes into the risk assessment. So when you times all that by hours and pay all that stuff, like, it's actually not, it comes out to not actually be like too much of like overkill or like, you know, but like when you're just starting out, it's best to look at things from don't ask for money up front. You can't really do that because when you're starting out, you know, you don't really have that repertoire that once you have like, you know, all these reviews or you have all the success, yeah, then you can ask for everything up front. But even now, I usually, you know, let people, I usually do half up front, half at completion, or like for some companies, if they're startups, whatnot, you know, do payment plans. Or this is the best advice I can give. You do not have to ask for money. You can ask for stock. And stock is the smartest thing to do because, see, companies are only able to give an allotted amount of money to outside contractors per like annual quarters and whatnot. But stock does not count as money allotted. So they can actually reach in if they have available stocks and stuff, and they don't actually have to touch their budgeting, and they can give that to you in an entire structure. Now, that's something you'll need a lawyer for to like write it up, but that's something that I learned. You know, you don't actually have to ask them for money; you can ask them for stock, and it's really benefited me.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is so awesome. I'm going to have to bring us in for a landing. It's been quite a trip here so far. Before I do, I want to kind of humble you for a second, if possible. if that's okay, because you have just demonstrated your abundance of knowledge. You have this amazing background. You've had all this amazing success, traveled around the world, done all these things. I want to know, what's something you failed at? Because I don't want everyone to think
Yeah.
everybody is perfect, right?
No. Let's see. So, obviously, technically, I did fail in making the next World of Warcraft. I was only able to make a zone, but no, I failed. I tried my very first consulting company and whatnot. I tried to create it was something that was called corporate. What was it called? Corporate. It was a consulting firm that was basically that focused on corporate communications, internal communications, and it failed because I really didn't know what corporate communications were at the time, and this is when I had just gotten into consulting, so I didn't know about workplace politics or any of that stuff, and that's what corporate communications are and whatnot. And at the same time, I also went into it thinking that okay, I had been successful all this time before, that I was just going to be successful, but I wasn't. And you need to know when to jump ship too. But I guess another thing that I've failed in is that I really fail in is like website design and development, and like projects. Like I will have all these great ideas and I will go and I will start them, and then I have piles and piles and piles that I've labeled of like each project that I have yet to get to, and they date back to like 2014. Like that's just
entrepreneur.
like that's just how it is. But I mean, I fail on not a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. I mean, reaching out to sponsors, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not going to get every sponsor, everything, and then also it's what's it called? It's something that I lived with my parents until I finally made it, basically as a consultant, making good money. And then I still live with my parents though too, till I was able to afford, a house. Because, if you have kind enough parents, living rent free is great till you can afford your own house, because paying rent is a lot of money, So that's always a tip. So, I mean, I don't, maybe they don't consider that a failure, but yeah, but, something that we'll talk upon is mentors. So when searching for mentors, something that you can look up is meetup groups, the meetups app. I don't know if you have that or something like that, but
it's everywhere.
Yeah, meetups. You might think they're stupid or I thought that for the longest time, but then I've started to go to them, and you'll meet a lot of interesting people. And the thing is you should always listen to what everybody has to say, because they're going to have a different life lesson for you. And the more life lessons you can accumulate, the more open-minded you are, the more well-rounded of a person you are. And then, believe it or not, some of those life lessons you will remember at the weirdest or moments, but they'll be able to help you in what you're doing.
This interview has been absolutely magical, Andrew. It's been so wonderful. How do people find you? Where do they get in touch with you at?
LinkedIn, first off. I am on my 100th website attempting to create, but that will be up soon at instantsmilegaming.com, at Smile Instantly for Twitter. Twitch is Instant Smile. Basically anything Instant Smile is me, because yeah.
So we're going to wrap it up now, but is there anything else that you want to give out? Is something I didn't ask? It's something like your last chance to give some advice here.
If you're if you throw out 100 emails for sponsorships and you hear back and you get 99 no's but 1 yes, you need to think of yourself as a success, not a failure.
Absolutely. It only takes 1 yes to be rich.
Exactly.
Okay. Andrew LaRock, this may actually be the best interview I've done yet. It's just so action-packed, so much information. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me.
All right, gamerpreneurs, please go back and listen to this one again. Please, there's so much. I'm going to listen to this one a few times myself. All right, on that note, I'm going to say, all of you all take it easy.
Yep. Have a good President's Day, huh? Yeah.
Hey, if you like this podcast, I'd love to invite you to check out a little bit more about me, Dr. Bradford Carlton, Gamerpreneur. If you go to my website, www.thegamerpreneur.com/bonus, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The Warcraft of Business, where I explain my history in both gaming and business and how I brought the two together in order to create some very successful companies and help a lot of people. And all you got to do is pay for shipping and processing, and I'll send you this book. I absolutely know you're going to love it. All right, you all take it easy.